Okay, at this time, I'd like to reconvene the regular board meeting. Clerk of the board, please call roll.
Arancibia.
Present.
Hall.
Present.
Segura.
Here.
Solis.
Present. Here.
Aguirre. Dr. Aguirre. Maybe he hasn't joined. Adamos.
Here.
That's everybody.
Dr. Aguirre's on now.
There he is. All right, thank you. We will now hold a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. I will lead it, and if we could keep in our thoughts, we haven't had a meeting since the insurrection of our U.S. Capitol, and if we can keep the thoughts of the law enforcement that lost their lives during that tragic event. I appreciate it. So with that, I'll lead that. Please stand.
Are we frozen?
Hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
United States of America.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The board met in closed session preceding this meeting to discuss the following issues. 1, public employee evaluation, appointment, transfer government code section 54957, excuse me. 2, public employee discipline, dismissal, release, reclassification, reassignment, resignation, transfer government code section 54957. 3, conference with legal counsel, anticipate litigation, paragraph 2 of subdivision D of government code section 54956.9. And 4, conference with labor negotiator, government code section 54957.6. The board took the following action: moved by Hall, seconded by Arancibia, to approve the appointment of Michelle Thrum Gonzalez as Director of Special Services with a vote of Arancibia, yes; Hall, yes; Segura, yes; Solis, yes; Tarantino, yes. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for the January 25th, 2021 regular board meeting. Do I have a motion?
I move. Did you hear me? I move approval.
Have a
I will
second?
second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Adamos.
Yes.
Arancibia.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Segura.
Yes.
Solis.
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. We'll now provide an opportunity for the SDCOE representative, Dr. Mark Scribano, to make any comments if he'd like.
No comments tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We'll now have an update from our interim superintendent, Dr. Aguirre.
Thank you, President Segura and trustees. Good evening on this very chilly, wintry, and blustery day. And buenas tardes to everybody. Welcome to our first board meeting of 2021. While this year is just starting, there have already been a number of significant events. On January 6th, we watched how the capital of our country was under siege for the first time since the War of 1812. Thankfully, that was resolved and our country has been able to move beyond that moment. There's now a new president of the United States calling for unity, and hopefully all of us as Americans can heed the call towards greater unity. As you may notice, during this evening's public comment, we are bringing back the practice of our public speakers speaking in their own voice. This is part of the efforts to gradually return to normalcy. Thank you to Ms. Vicedo, who has read the public comments in the recent past. And we look forward to having our public share their comments in their own voice. In our district, we have restarted small group cohorts. We are continuing small group athletic conditioning as well. Just last week, the California Department of Public Health, or CDPH, released revised guidelines to provide greater clarity regarding in-person instruction in athletics. Based on this revised guidance, we can reaffirm that we continue to be at phase 1 of reopening, which only allows for small group supports until our county can once again be in the red tier. Regarding athletics, this new guidance from the CDPH allows what are defined as purple tier season 1 sports, which may begin practice no earlier than February 1st or after. This week, our district will release revised guidance for cross country and swim and dive as allowed by the CDPH in alignment with the athletics authorized under the revised CIF procedures. Our district continues the work of equity when many of us attended the equity conference convened by the San Diego County Office of Education, which had a Equity is Love in Action as the overarching theme. Our work group, Black Student Union Elders, continues the work to implement the Black Lives Matter resolution. And the status update will be presented at the February board meeting. We also had a meeting to begin the process of revamping the Filipino American Advisory Committee, as well as Sweetwater continues to partner with our communities to be part of the solution to support efforts to address the COVID-19 pandemic. We continue to work in partnership with the cities of National City and Imperial Beach to support ongoing efforts, and we look forward to sharing more information when those discussions are made more concrete. In closing, we are beginning to see glimmers of light at the end of this COVID tunnel. However, much work remains. Many lives have been lost, and our communities have been heavily impacted, especially as the eye of this storm has been in our communities here in the South Bay. We continue to strongly encourage our employees and the community at large who may be vaccinated to do so, to help our community bring the pandemic under control, to protect the life and health of all of us. We continue to be resilient and to work diligently to ensure we're prioritizing life and safety, and continue to be collaborative with our approach towards our gradual reopening process. Patience and grace continue to guide us through this moment, and we thank all of our students, our teachers, parents, administrators, nurses, psychologists, counselors, cafeteria staff, custodians, gardeners, office staff, paraprofessionals, and our community partners for the ongoing ability to engage in joint problem solving during such a difficult time in this once-in-a-lifetime event. Thank you, and muchas gracias.
Thank you, Dr. Gary, for those good words. We'll now have an update from our student board representative, Ms. Desiree Ramos. I'm sure you'll be a doctor someday, though.
Thank you. The first thing I would like to say for students that are possibly watching is welcome back as we continue into our second semester of distance learning. As Dr. Giri said, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and just persevere and push through it. There are a lot of supports that the district provides in order to support you during this unprecedented time. And another thing that I would like to say is my personal congratulations to the San Diego Unified School District Superintendent, Cindy Martin, for being appointed to President Biden's team as Deputy U.S. Education Secretary. I really think that it is a great step forward, especially for representation for San Diego County. And that is all that I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. It's so good to hear you voice again and see your bright smile. And then with that, we'll move to D1, conduct a public hearing and adopt resolution number 3898, approving the annual and 5-year reportable fees report for the fiscal year 2019 to 2020 in compliance with Government Code sections 66006 and 66001. I will now open the public hearing. Are there any speakers?
There are no speakers, Mr. President.
I will close. The hearing is now closed. Do we have any questions from the board, or do we have a motion to adopt resolution number 3898?
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Vote, please.
Adamos,
Yes.
Arencibia,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes,
Segura,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. This is the point on the agenda where members of the public may address the board on any matter not on the agenda and have 3 minutes each to do so. The Board of Trustees cannot legally take any action on or respond to matters not posted on the public agenda, but will refer the matter to the superintendent's office for review and report. Speakers shall refrain from using profanity and shall speak in a respectful manner. Thank you for your cooperation.
The first speaker is Kathleen Cheers.
Good evening. Happy New Year to all. I would like to begin by welcoming Trustee Aaron Sibley. The community asks of you, in your position, the integrity of independence. You vote your conscience. Your votes help to restore Sweetwater's integrity with the goal of providing a quality education for the South Bay's middle and high school students, incorporating fiscal responsibility. Moving on, the community is, bear with me, the committee is questioning the public snub of Dr. Joe Fulcher, equity and culture. I never understood, oh God. I apologize. Kimberly Dixon. Okay, I got it. I'm sorry. Moving on, the community is questioning the public snub of Dr. Joe Fulcher's departure. Our district is better than this, I thought. If it's not, we should be. Dr. Fulcher's return as superintendent was heralded. He was, after all, the close second in the previous superintendent search. Our employees and students of all colors and our LGBTQ communities further applauded the emphasis he was charged as head of equity and culture. I never understood the vitriol of those who consistently spoke negatively about the man, his department, or the program, but now suspect there was an unnamed something about this man. There's something few are willing to recognize and admit. It is worth noting, tomorrow President Biden will focus his actions on equity. One would have thought his efforts would have been recognized with the public acknowledgement, and thank you. Since there was a failure to do so, allow me to. Thank you, Dr. Fulcher, for all you brought to our district and our students. You will be missed. I would like to once again respectfully ask when we, the taxpaying community, will be appraised of how and where the supplanted COVID salary savings were spent. We, the community, would appreciate a simple spreadsheet. Total COVID relief monies received, followed by line accounting. A few months back, Ms. Marinovich warned an accounting of state and federal COVID expenditures would be forthcoming. Unfortunately, chose to ignore the warning. Now those entities want specifics, and you are asking employees to back retroactively and precisely account for 25% of their daily activities between June of 2020 and December of 2020. How can they be expected to accurately complete this task? Explain the deceit in this. In closing, while 2020 brought far more controversies than our students, employees, and taxpaying community deserve, it is incumbent on all of us, myself included, to be better in 2021. Thank you.
The next speaker is Julie Walker.
Hello, I'm Julie Walker from the Sweetwater Education Association. President Segura, Dr. Gary, and board members, thank you for this opportunity to speak this evening. I want to thank Deanne Bucedo for her hard work over the last few months in reading the community comments. At times it was a Herculean task, and she has shown grace under pressure. I would like to thank the school board and district leadership for their support of a comprehensive safety plan, which uses science to support the eventual return to school sites when it's safe. The association will be working with the district to refine the plan for reopening based on the new guidelines provided by the California Department of Health. The members of the FDA are waiting for news that vaccines are available for us to start the process of our return. The governor and assembly need to revise their push for reopening. The timeline proposed is unrealistic. especially in a district like ours. And I appreciate any of your advocacy to let our lawmakers know that safety is the first consideration in our community. If you haven't contacted Assemblymember Lorena Gonzalez, please do so. Another issue I want to bring to your attention is the state mandated testing. Last week, the Teaching and Learning Department shared the testing schedule for spring. On it is the SBAC testing. State mandated testing will not give us actionable data to help with assessing learning loss. Our members articulating with their peers about where their students are and our professional learning communities planning with district curriculum specialists will do more to address this situation than any standardized test. Please use your position to advocate for that this year's testing be waived. There is more harm than good putting our students through a lengthy, stressful testing schedule. Thank you for your time and stay safe.
The next speaker is Kimberly Dixon.
Dear Sweetwater board members, keeping the kids out of in-person education is having a devastating impact on some families. Last year, we emphasized the dangers of too much screen time and promoted getting exercise. Now you encourage sitting in front of the screen for hours a day and keep your students locked out of athletics for months. Families feel powerless. They are losing trust and student enrollment is down. Neighboring districts with similar case rates, may I add, have been offering in-person education and athletics for months. Why not Sweetwater? It is inexcusable that Sweetwater will be the last district to reopen. No matter where you are politically, everybody believes that they are supposed to protect the young. Instead of protecting them, we have caused irreparable harm. Please recognize the impact that keeping the schools closed has had on your students, especially the underserved students. As board members, you have commitment to make the best choice for kids, and I implore you to continue to work on an option to get all of our children back on campus as soon as possible. The 5 of you hold the education of our future generation in your hands. You are responsible for making decisions that affect thousands of families. 2/3 of your families want to be back on campus in some capacity, yet the district remains closed. You have the power to reopen, but I'm not sure about your desire. Please do what is best for children. Allow families the choice of in-person education. You can reopen in the purple tier, as you did have students on campus previously while the county was in the red tier, despite the pressures from CTA. You are in stage 2 currently, and you can have up to 10% of your students on campus, so make that happen. Yes, stage 2, based on your own diction, which is written in black and white. To say otherwise would be disingenuous. What are your parameters for moving into stage 3? Show families that you are making the effort to allow them the choice of in-person instruction. Give them hope that their students will be allowed back on campus soon. Thank you.
The next comments are from Nick Marinovich.
Good evening. I'm not sure it's too late for a cutoff, but Happy New Year. A little birdie flew into my yard the other day and indicated that the federal government, I guess it was Kathleen Cheers, as you heard earlier, was asking for some accountability on the spending after CARES Act funds on certain district salaries. So I went back and looked at some of my correspondence, and I noticed on September 28, 2020, under non-agenda public comments, I stated, quote, based upon my experience, the feds will want detailed reports on how and why you're spending the federal funds referring to the CARES Act. Those of us who are the usual suspects are going to demand complete accountability. Then on November 30th, 2020, at the audit committee meeting, I submitted written comments stating the entire CARES Act legislation is devoted for resources and assistance to those individuals, business, and government associated with the specific, unique challenges posed by this pandemic. It is not a school's general fund relief act. While a school district may be able to fool the general public on where the money went, You will not be able to fool the federal auditor/inspector general when these expenditures are audited. The worst thing would be if you had to return the money. Then, just recently, not that recent, but December 2nd, 2020, I was on a Zoom call, Taxpayers Association Excellence in Education Committee, where we heard a presentation from, you've heard of her, Cindy Martin, regarding how San Diego Unified was dealing with the pandemic. I asked her basically what was her impression. She was quite impressed with the call by her knowledge of pandemic, and I asked her, are you using the CARES Act funds to relieve general fund pressures? And she stated, and I don't want to quote her exactly, but in effect, she said it was supposed to be to provide funds to deal with the pandemic-related education, not provide relief for the general fund. Again, I don't want to be a know-it-all and all that kind of stuff. I just hope we checked all the boxes to make sure we're in compliance with CARES Act spending. I know Jerome Torres of the Audit Committee is on this and will certainly represent the community in asking tough questions. Thank you.
There's someone on the line calling from 760 number. I'm not sure who that is. Are you there? Okay, no, okay, there are no further speakers for non-agenda items.
Thank you. And Clerk of the Board, will you please read the items being pulled from the consent agenda?
Yes, the following items are pulled. Item F3 by staff, item F5 by Mr. Tarantino, item F6 by the public, item F8 by Mr. Tarantino, item F10 by Mr. Segura and Mr. Tarantino, item F11 by Mr. Tarantino, item G1 by Dr. Arencibia, Mr. Segura, Mr. Tarantino, and the public, item G4 by Mr. Segura, item G5 by Dr. Arencibia, item G6 by Mr. Tarantino, item G7 by Mrs. Hall, item G8 by Mrs. Hall, item H1 by Mrs. Hall, item H2 by Mrs. Hall, item K1 by Mrs. Hall, item K6 by Mrs. Hall, item L3 by Mrs. Hall, Mr. Tarantino, and the public, item L5 by Mr. Tarantino and the public, item N1 by Mrs. Hall, item N2 by Mrs. Hall, item N3 by Mrs. Hall, and item R1 by Mr. Tarantino.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Adamos,
Yes.
Arencibia,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes,
Segura,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we'll start off with F3. Any trustees in particular want to go first or have anything for F3? Please let me know. Mr. Vice President Solis, thank you.
Thank you, President Segura. Yes, I do want to say Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome back. I wanted to thank everybody and all the workers in the district for keeping our students fed, both physically and mentally. So thank you for all the hard work that you're doing. I also wanted to say that we will be having honoring our own event May 1st. It'll be a virtual event. It'll be online. Our nominations are due by February the 19th. So if you have any nominations, make sure you get those in. All right, and that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Solis. Trustee Hall, go ahead.
thank you, Mr. Segura. Yes, So I wanted to mention that I was in a meeting yesterday and it was drawn to my attention that January 30th is Fred Karamatsu Day. And that is a recognition of Fred Karamatsu, an American who was born in Oakland, California, grew up in our beautiful state, graduated from high school, the Castlemont High School in 1937. Mr. Karamatsu was unable to serve in the United States military because his selective service classification had been changed to enemy alien, which was at the time when our country was at war and had so dishonored people of Japanese heritage that were living and had been born and were living and had immigrated here to our country. And that label haunted him all of his life. But he actually, I don't want to read the whole declaration. The city of La Mesa is making a proclamation, I think at their meeting this month, to honor him and to draw attention to the fact that there is this year's One Book, One San Diego regional program sponsored by public radio and TV station KBBS and public libraries, focuses on Japanese American experiences in World War II. Internment camps with the books They Called Us Enemies by George Takei, Justin Eisinger, Stephen Scott, and Harmony Becker, for all adult readers, readers of Spanish, and young adult readers, and Write to Me by Cynthia Grader and illustrated by Emiko Hiraho for children. But Mr. Karamatsu's life and his willingness to assert that our civil liberties are the hallmark of our great country have left an indelible mark on the history of our nation and hold a special meaning for the people here in California. So I just wanted to read that and to recognize it, to bring it to our attention, and to say thank you to those who are still willing to step out and honor for civil rights. They will step out no matter the cost to them personally. So I want to thank you all for listening. And I would like to see us have a proclamation for this in the coming meeting to support this proclamation. Also, I would like to say thank you to staff and to everyone that's going through so much. I know that it's a tremendous lift that everyone's doing, including our administrative staff, but especially the teachers and the workers on the front lines. We really know you every day have to balance so many things while engaging students, and we really know that you're doing the very good work. And our students are really benefiting from it, even though it's challenging, because these are times that build us our character and prepare us for things we have not yet learned about or foresee in our life. But I know that the things that are happening now are building character in each and every one of us for the challenges ahead. So keep persevering. That's all I want to say about that. And I would ask that we honor everyone as they do the work. And that's all I'm going to say now. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Hall. Trustee Tarantino.
Thank you, President Segura. I'd like to echo what Vice President Lee said, and wishing everybody a Happy New Year and a new start to the second semester. I hope that everybody had an opportunity over the winter break to celebrate being away from work for a while within the confines of the COVID restrictions. And now we're all back and ready to go for semester 2. I have one ask, and that is that there's really no hurry on this, but I would like a report on the number of F grades that were given for first semester. And I don't know if the trustees are interested in having it district-wide or by trustee area. Anyway, I'd like to have an accounting of the F grades, the incompletes, the no credits, and the NCP grades, the new option that we put in action in December. So, and that's what I like to see. That's all I have, President Segura.
Thank you, Trustee Tarantino. Dr. Adencibia, go ahead.
Well, I'd like to welcome everyone back to the new year. I hope everyone's staying safe. I know it's a trying time for everyone. And I know it's a trying time because I'm a father of two girls that sit at home in front of the screen as well, and it's difficult. It's difficult for all of us. When we ran for office, none of us imagined that we would be dealing with public health issues. We want to work on education issues and working on making education better for everyone. But this learning curve has been steep for all of us, not just you, ourselves as well. And we're trying our best to be able to navigate a path that's going to make everyone safe, and at the same time, to continue to offer everyone an opportunity to get the best education possible here in our district. I'd like to first say thank you to every one of the workers in our district. I know it's been hard, and I know that you've been putting yourselves on the line. I know some of you have experienced the trauma that COVID has brought to our community firsthand, and I just want to say I'm here with you in spirit. I'd like to give you an abrazo if I could, just to tell you, I understand this is a traumatic time, but we're going to get through this. Working together, we're going to get through this. And know that we're here to listen. We're trying our best to be able to assimilate a lot of information that changes daily. But we're going to get through this, and we're going to offer the district the best path forward. And I hope you can trust in the leadership that we have to be able to get us there. Lastly, I'd like to finish up just thanking all the families out there that have been patient, that have made all the efforts that they can to get their children online, and even sometimes when they can't get online. And sometimes I'm going to say something as an educator I probably shouldn't say. Sometimes it's okay to turn off the screen and take a walk with your kid. Sometimes it's okay to leave a lesson if everyone's frustrated because the line's broken down 3 times, and just take a breather and have some breathing sessions with your kids, or eat a cookie or have some milk and give them a hug, because we all experience that. I've come to make those journeys every single month. I take my girls one day out of the week and I say, let's just go in the afternoon. Let's go drive around wherever it is, either through Coronado or through Point Loma, just to make sure that they have a break. Because if we're under this pressure, I can't imagine what they're facing every single day. So just please take the time to be aware of your children, help them out as much as you can. Understand that none of this is in our perfect world, but we're trying our best. And I hope you can be as hopeful as we are that we're going to get out of this, but we can only get out of this together. I thank you again. I wish you a new year, and I thank you for supporting us in this journey.
Thank you, Dr. Adencibia. Those are some good words. I'll be brief. I'd like to also welcome everybody to the new year. I look forward to continuing to lead and the work that we're going to get done, and as we hopefully, with the vaccinations coming out, and that we get to move forward, and I don't want to say, and just hope things go more in a positive direction. I'll definitely say that. I was on a CSBA, San Diego School Board Association meeting as well with Trustee Solis, and most of it was around COVID. So everything I think I've been listening to or participating in, and in the things that I do outside of the school board. It's been around COVID, been learning a lot about that and where we're at in tier 1. And we're just really in a tough spot here in the South County. I was on a call the other day, and Cindy Martin came on the Zoom call, and it was really nice to hear her and see her. I've met her before. I actually worked with her before in my previous job as a union rep with electrical workers, and worked with her well. And I was glad that she was able to that the president selected her, and many of us have her phone number, so that's a good thing. And I wish her much luck. And I know some other people have got sworn in since the last meeting, and one in particular is Supervisor Nora Vargas. She is a very strong proponent for everything in the South Bay. She has done a lot, worked closely with the mayor Solis, of National City and Chula Vista, and then she was with her leadership able to open up some more COVID facilities for us to get shots and all that sort of stuff. So that's going to be huge for us going forward. I just want to congratulate her. I've known her for a long time. Worked with her when she was on the Southwestern College Governing Board for a number of years. She is a very fine lady and really cares about our community. And that is all I have. Thank you. And with that, we'll move to F5. And that was pulled by Mr. Tarantino.
Thank you, Mr. Segura. I had a question on the Real Inspiration Incorporated, Keith Hawkins. He mentions in the description that there's going to be 16 lessons. I'd like to know what grade levels are these lessons targeted to, and what classes are going to be targeted for this kind of enrichment.
Okay, if I may, President Segura, I'd like to ask Dr. Alvarez to respond to that question. Dr. Alvarez?
Good afternoon, or good evening, Dr. Aguirre, Mr. Segura, Mr. Tarantino, and board members and our public. The Keith Hawkins is going to be used across the board in lessons at Hilltop High School. They are providing supports on mental health, mental toughness, and it will be part of their ongoing program for social emotional learning for students, and that's how they'll be utilizing it.
Okay, thank you. Sounds like a good program. I have.
Thank you, Mr. Tarantino. Any other questions or comments from the trustees? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of F5.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please vote.
Adamo?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, F6 pulled by the public.
Yes. I have one speaker, Kathleen Cheers.
Agenda item F6. I would like to refer you to page 3, specifically PPE 2.02. Please explain why, how the district would find itself in a position to not have sufficient PPE. Additionally, why would working from home be proposed as an option? You have had since last summer to locate PPE sources and fund purchases with the COVID millions you received last March. Page 5. Will employees be instructed to keep a detailed log, itemizing work beyond their contractual workday? This MOU gives the appearance the district is planning on continuing virtual learning. Am I correct in that assumption? And if so, what are the plans, or when will we, the public, be advised of those plans? We have been advised early on that the district had purchased acrylic barriers. I am told there are some in the warehouse. What are your plans for those acrylic barriers? Surely we don't want them to come up missing and find they have been sold, like the computer story that led to a lot of chaos here a few years back. In closing, when providing documents to be used as attachments, is there a possibility page numbers could be used?
There are no further speakers.
Dr. Getty, did you want to address that?
Sure, I'll ask our general counsel, since she leads labor relations as well, to provide response.
Sure.
Ms. Carpenter.
Sure. Thank you for the questions, Mrs. Cheers, through the board. I want to make sure that we are aware this MOU is specifically intended to address distance learning. We had not yet reached agreement over distance learning with the counselors, and so they did ask for some of these provisions in here. Specifically as to 2.02, we do have the PPE that's necessary, but a number of our bargaining units, and we've tried to make sure that most of this language is streamlined and the same across units, felt that it was really important to have in there what would happen if they showed up on campus and there was no PPE to provide them, that they would not be penalized or harmed. And so this was our way of signaling to our employees that we do believe we have the PPE, but if for some reason you came and it wasn't there, you would not lose a day's pay because you didn't. As it relates to the acrylic barriers, a number of employees, due to accommodations reasons, have requested acrylic barriers. Others have been set up in the office depending on the distance. And so there is a process through which folks can request those. We also, in this MOU, have had some conversations with our counselors around ensuring that barriers are put up, especially if requested, but put up in their sites. And then I believe the last question was about face coverings, or excuse me, was about page numbers. We can do our best to do that. Obviously, we're commonly at the table passing documents back and forth. And so we bring you the document that's signed, not the document that's intended for what goes up with page numbers. So that is a summary of that MOU.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you. Do we have any questions or comments from the board on that item? If not, I'll entertain a motion for F6.
I will make a motion to approve.
I will second it. Let's vote, please.
Adamo?
Yes.
Valencia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
5-0.
All right. F8, pulled by Mr. Tarantino.
Thank you, President Gruda. I just had I need a point of clarification on the certificated employee calendar. And that is, if you look at it, it's the one that's kind of in a tan color. I'll wait to you. If you look at the pre-service days, there's a white X as opposed to a black X, and I'm wondering, does that white X state that students are in session during those professional growth days, or does that mean that there are no students during those professional growth days? And I'm talking specifically about July 19th and 20th, October the 4th, and February 10th. January 10th, sorry.
Thank you, Trustee Tarantino. I think for a point of clarification, if you look at the other calendar, it does indicate the student calendar. It does indicate that answers that part of the question. I will ask Ms. Carpucci to provide any other clarification.
What I would say what he said. They absolutely, if you can see, it says that it would be a black X for student days and a P for if it's professional development day. A professional development day is a day without students. If you would like, before we post it on the internet, after you change it, to just replace those X's with P's, Mr. Tarantino, for convenience sake, we could do that. But it is indicated on both of the calendars that those are ends, which are no student days. So we could do that if you'd like.
Yeah, I think I was wondering how to have professional growth days with students, but I would think that would be a good solution, General Counsel Carpucci. I think for clarity's sake. That's all I had on F8.
We will get that done, and Mr. Tarantino, as we put together the classified contracts and in particular the certificated for the other bargaining units, the counselors and others will try to make sure that that gets carried over as well.
Thank you.
There are no further questions or comments. I will entertain a motion for approval of F8.
So moved.
Moved and seconded by who?
Moved by me.
Second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Trustee Hall. Thank you. Vote, please.
Adamo,
Yes.
Valencia,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, that takes us to F10, moved by Trustee Tarantino about the SELPA. We ratified the SELPA plan.
Yes, I just, it was, even though this document deals with the internal workings of the SELPA, I was wondering, is it going to be available to parents and members of the community? I thought it was an excellent document. It was very precise, but is it just for internal use or is it for public consumption?
Thank you, Trustee Tarantino. I'll ask Michelle Sturm-Gonzalez to address that question. Michelle, are you on?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Aguirre, Trustee Tarantino. So yes, actually it is one of the legal requirements by the state of California, CDE, to have that posting made available through our public website. And it is a direct link then through to the SELPA local plan.
Thank you, and congratulations. That's all I have, President Segura.
Thank you, Trustee Tarantino. I had pulled that as well, and my question was just, is there, just how is that document curated, and is there an advisory committee that gives input to that?
Michelle, yeah. Michelle?
Yes, that's an excellent question, President Segura. So there is a committee that is formed through the South County SELPA, and each district sends representatives, whether it be a parent, general education teacher, special education teacher, or administrator. And that team then comprises looking at the new template, which was the task ahead of us this year. They meet together multiple times throughout the previous school year, all through 1920, and we're able then to put together the local plan. Once it's approved, then through each one of the districts, it is submitted to the CDE for final approval.
Thank you so much. That was very informative. With that, if there's no other further questions, I will entertain a motion to approve F10. I will make the motion for approval.
Second, Solis.
Moved and seconded. Vote, please.
Adamo,
Yes.
Valencia,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Let's move to F11, which is the MOUs with CTA, SEA, and NEA, and pulled by Mr. Tarantino.
Thank you, President. The question, in the analysis, it says that we're anticipating about 25 to 50 individuals who might take advantage of this this one-time off-the-schedule payment for declaring their intent to retire. If we get less than that, still something that can go forward, or are we bound by the 25-50 takers in order to happen?
Thank you, Trustee Tarantino. On that question, I will ask our General Counsel to respond since she negotiated that.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Tarantino. No, this for us, the intent of this is clear, and I'm going to take a couple seconds and talk about it just in case people didn't see. Sometimes our staff actually watch these board meetings, and so this is an opportunity where we've invited any of our employees who are 55 with 5 years or 50 with 30 years that want to retire, not that use this as an incentive to get them to retire. That isn't our intent, but just for them to tell us earlier than they're required contractually to do, to give us that notice so that for staff planning purposes, we can start making some decisions now in February, as opposed to getting that notice in June and having to scramble to make sure we're properly staffed. So if we get 5 or if we get 500, we will be excited to accept them and take those, Mr. Tarantino. So there is no bottom end number, as you would with a true an actual retirement incentive, because this is not an incentive. It's just a notice, an ask for an early tell of a notice.
Thank you for the clarification, Ms. Cubertino. That's all I have.
Thank you for letting me talk about it.
Okay, do we have any more questions or comments from the board on F11? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second.
Aaron Sebia did.
Thank you, sir.
Adamos?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, let's move to G1. Pulled by the public, Dr. Sebia, myself, and Mr. Tarantino.
Yes, I have comments from Kathleen Cheers.
Yes, with this proposed change in graduation credit requirements from 44 to 26, I can only imagine the negative impact on those seniors planning to enter college as it relates to their being competitive in the category of knowledge expertise. I would have expected a more aggressive approach to assisted learning via tutors, etc., using our COVID relief dollars for this particular demographic. So I acknowledge and commend the small on-campus groups for students who were struggling. So often those who are seen as excelling are forgotten, not having a seat at the table. Thank you.
There are no further comments.
All right, Dr. Sebia.
No, I'm actually encouraged by this. I'm very concerned about. This is an issue of equity for me at the level of assuring that everyone has a chance to graduate despite what may be occurring around them via their work life, home life, and especially with their parents' work life, I should say. So I'm very encouraged that you continued this process that we began this past semester. I should say in the spring semester of last year. So I think that we have to work more inclusively at the level of assuring that our students will graduate. To be able to give them a chance to graduate this way, I think is a positive message.
Thank you, sir. I pulled it as well. I echo those thoughts exactly. I have a daughter who's a senior, and she's an IB student, so I don't think this is really gonna will apply to her. But she's fortunate where she has mom and dad are available to support her, and she has the technology, but that's not everybody.
Exactly.
So I definitely appreciate this moving forward in this manner, and I will vote accordingly. And with that, we'll go to Mr. Tarantino.
I was just going to add, I think this agenda item, in conjunction with the variety of different grades that were options for teachers to give instead of F grades, I think that we've done a good job in mitigating all of the issues that surround distance learning and connectivity and all of that stuff. So nice job, Dr. Alvarez, and thank you to you and your committee for making this happen. Thank you. That's all I have.
No other questions? We'll entertain a motion for G1.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Solis.
Oh, sorry.
I'll give it to Paula. That's fine.
Moving a second for approval. Vote, please.
Adamo?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Let's go to G4. Kelso, and I pulled that. And the only thing I was going to ask if we could just get an update, any past successes or utilization, just things of that nature of this program in the past. Just so we have a little history of it. I don't need to have it this Friday, but just whenever we could put something together, sir, I appreciate that. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve. G4.
Second.
Okay, there's a second. Vote, please.
Adamo?
Yes.
Arancibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All righty, we'll move to G5, which is textbook approvals, pulled by Dr. Arancibia.
No, and I just wanted to say, the only thing I wanted to say about this was I'm very happy that this was done. I mentioned that to others that, one of the things I think we have to look at is online versions of these texts, because I think this is a necessary program for my area in terms of the schools that in my area. So I want to make sure that I want to say thank you for making this move. But again, let's try seeing how we can find open resources online, educational resources online that might be able to be put together so that we're not paying the huge number, or find online versions of it that might be a bit cheaper. But I'm thankful that we went ahead and did this. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Dr. Arancibia. And with that, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Moved by Hall, seconded by Dr. Arancibia. Vote, please.
Adamo?
Yes.
Arancibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, that takes us to G6, which is the MOU with Kaiser and Hippocrates Circle program, pulled by Mr. Tarantino.
I just had a question in terms of, it mentioned that the students will be determined who are going to be participating in this program. What is the selection criteria, or is there selection criteria, or how does that work?
Thank you, Trustee Tarantino, for that question. I'll ask Dr. Alvarez to respond. Dr. Alvarez.
Good evening again. So this program is for middle schools. And the way that they're selected is that there are teacher volunteers that lead the program. When the teacher volunteers come forward, from there they do a rotating basis. This year, at the time when we submitted the item, we didn't have the 2 schools that would be participating. But this year, I was just informed earlier this afternoon that Granger Junior High and National City Middle School will be participating. And as I said, this has been on an ongoing rotating basis. Each year we select 2 schools at the middle school level.
Thank you.
Okay. I think Vice President Solis, do you have a question on this?
Yes. Thank you, President Segura. Just with regards to the previous years of them doing this, do we have any like survey data or testimony from students or the teachers that volunteer how the program is and how they're enjoying it or how it's working?
So I believe that an exit interview survey is conducted. So I will work with CTE to make sure that we're able to provide that to you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate that. And with that, I'll make a motion to.
I will second it. It's moved and seconded. Vote, please.
Adamo?
Yes.
Arancibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, let's move to G7, which is about a contract with Screencastify and us, pulled by Trustee Hall.
Thank you, President Segura. So this Screencastify item, it shows the fiscal impact as none. This is being asked to be approved for 2 years, and it's a software subscription, which is on a free trial basis for 6 months. So I am a little bit confused that they would list this as no fiscal impact. I would like to have clarification about that, please.
Thank you, Trustee Hall. I'll ask Dr. Alvarez to provide that clarification. Dr. Alvarez.
That's a great question, Mrs. Hall. So we already have 4 schools, Eastlake Middle, Eastlake High, and Hilltop. I'm sorry, 3 schools, and Hilltop High School that have purchased this already. We took this to board in December for their contracts. This 6-month free trial, and I think there may have been a mistake because initially we were going to take the free trial plus an additional contract. We've chosen just to do the free trial, is for their professional version. And so we are only going with the free trial at this time. The other schools have taken separate contracts for their professional license.
So 3 schools have this regardless. They've done it on their own.
Correct.
And you're taking 6 months. When did that 6 months start?
It starts once this is approved. We have not initiated it
and
yet.
how will teachers be informed about when that ends?
So we will be sending them notification and also be providing free training that will be provided to them. And so as part of our professional development and the messages that we send from curriculum and instruction, that information will be provided. And there is just so some background information, there is a free version that teachers can use. I have a free version myself, but what happens is it doesn't have all the professional capacities. So we're going to offer the professional capacity one for right now, and they'll be able to look at that. If we have sufficient teachers that feel that that level of Screencastify is appropriate, then we would look at supporting that.
What does it cost if you're paying for it?
That would be negotiated within the contract. That's what we don't have right now.
So you have no idea what it would cost to get that? You're moving this along, but I get that you're getting it free for now, but it's really hard to take things away once you give it. We found that on several occasions. That's very difficult. It's like all we have to think about is Jupyter grades and Canvas and all those things, and it's really hard to get people away from things if they've put 6 months of their time into it. So I just want to know what the plan is. I would really like you to have a little bit of follow-up information on that, perhaps, so we understand what might eventually occur and what that cost would be and how that would be distributed to schools. Because I want to make sure we're doing things equitably, that all schools get access to things, not just some schools. So especially now, it's very clear that we have, declining enrollment and things like that. I want to make sure that we're keeping that in mind. Thank you.
Okay. And with that, if there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion for approval of G7.
I'll second.
Did you get that, Deanne?
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll move then. I'll also move.
I will second.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
And we'll
Alma?
Yes.
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, that moves us to G8, computers from Ari Jones, pulled by Trustee Hall.
Thank you, President Segura, again. My question is about, we have a list here of refreshing computer labs for the College and Career Readiness Department, but at different schools for their labs, and it's paid for with grant funding. And we can see from the board item that they've listed schools that have gotten refreshes already to date, and some that are planned for this year. So my question is, there's several schools that aren't listed, and what happens to those schools? Do they have programs, and is there a full schedule that we just aren't seeing here on this board item?
Thank you, Trustee Hall. I'll ask Dr. Alvarez to address those questions. Dr. Alvarez.
Once again, Ms. Hall, great question. So as you mentioned, grant funding is utilized for this. It's either going to be Perkins, the California, or the Career Technical Education Incentive Grant, or the K-12 Strong Workforce Partnership Grants. Those are the ones that are funding these refresh. The requirements of the grants include that it must be through a designated pathway, and that pathway must be moving forward to meet the standards of high quality pathways. We only have those pathways at high schools, so you will not see the middle schools as part of this grant funding, because they don't qualify. They do not have the pathways. We have, through College and Career, evaluated the CTE computers, the labs within the district, and have placed them on a rotation for replacement. So as mentioned previously, labs that have already received new computers include Olympian, the engineering lab, Otay Ranch, the engineering lab, Hilltop High, the Arts, Media, and Entertainment Lab, San Isidro, the Arts, Media, and Entertainment Lab, and SUHSD, the Engineering Lab. This year, we will be refreshing the engineering labs, Option Secondary, Chula Vista High, Bonita Vista High School Engineering Lab, Chula Vista High, also Arts, Media, and Entertainment Lab, Olympian, Arts, Media, and Entertainment, and Business Management Labs. Forthcoming, dependent on future grants, will allow replacements both at Chula Vista High for their Business Management Lab, Montgomery High School for the Arts, Media, and Entertainment Labs, Olympian High School, their ICT, which is their Communications Lab, Palomar, also their Communications Lab, and Eastlake High School, their Arts and Media and Entertainment Lab. And what we can do for you is we can prepare an update that has this all listed so that the trustees and the public can see it.
Thank you, Dr. Alvarez. I am concerned mostly with understanding what programs are being offered at what schools, so that I can be assured that we are equitable in how we offer the different kind of pathways that you mentioned. This board item states it's all being paid for with the K-12 Strong Workforce Program Grant. And since, schools like Granger, National City Middle, this board item has a middle school listed, Bonita Vista Middle, as being on the list to get it refurbished. So I'm not sure if you missed that, or because you say that they weren't allowed to do middle schools with this money, but there's several schools that are missing, and they're even missing from the list of future refurbishes. Southwest High, Southwest Middle, Mar Vista Academy, Mar Vista High, Chula Vista Middle. All those schools are not being listed here, Chula Vista Middle even. So I'm concerned that we're not offering the rigorous programs and options that other schools are getting. And that, to me, is, we have to correct that if that's the case, because they're not being listed here. They haven't been refurbished. They're not, you know, I don't know what the plan is. I don't even know where I can go for a complete list of what programs are offered where. Is that on the career and college and career department web page, or?
So we do have a listing of all the programs that we can provide you. It details what pathways are offered at schools, what courses are offered at schools, and we can provide that in the update so that you have that.
Yeah. And I'd like to follow up on Trustee Hall's comments that, I mean, that is a troubling thing if only a certain percentage of schools are having these computers refurbished or have these programs that can go ahead and do this. And it behooves us as trustee members to assure ourselves that the other schools like Southwest Middle, like Southwest High School, and like My Vista and My Vista Middle we develop the programs that are going to be putting the same type of equipment, the same programs into the schools, right? And I think that this is something that I concur with her completely. At the level of we need to ask ourselves as board members and as trustees, well, how best are we moving forward to achieving that?
And there are other programs that do support the middle school programs. So what we can do is we can provide you a complete listing of what programs are offered. For example, we have Gateway to Technology and other courses at middle schools that are offered. We can give you that, and also the equipment replacement at those sites, so that we have a comprehensive approach to it, and you can see that.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
That's G8. If there's no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Solis.
I'll second it.
Move to second it. Vote, please.
Adama?
Yes.
Arancibia?
Yes.
Hall? Ms.
Yes.
Hall? Thank you. Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, let's move to H1, which is pulled by Trustee Hall, and that's around Phillips Elementary School District and South Bay Community Services and Sweetwater. Go ahead. Trustee
Thank
Hall.
you. Yes, I'm looking at, you know, contracts and contracting out services, and I always have a concern when we're doing that. But when I was going through the purchase order item that is later on in the agenda, I noticed how many of our purchase orders and the value of those orders for South Bay Community Services we have. And then this is, again, giving them another nice chunk of funding to provide services. So I'd like to have a comprehensive spreadsheet of what services we've contracted with South Bay Community Services and the amounts of those contracts and how much we've paid on those to date, the hours served, and where they've served for those particular items. I mean, I appreciate the fact that we're providing intervention services. I'm not sure. I would like to see the boots on the ground be our own staff first before we start contracting out. But considering what we're dealing with in this year of COVID, I understand we need supplemental supports for everyone. So thank you. And with that, I will make a motion to approve if no one else has questions.
You're muted, Mr. Segura.
I'll second.
There we go. It's seconded. Vote, please.
Adama?
Yes.
Arancibia?
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yeah.
Motion passes 5-0.
That moves us to H2, National Federation of State High School Association agreement, pulled by Trustee Hall.
Thank you. President Segura again. My question on this is who controls the cameras? That's my first question. And do we have any information on other districts that may be utilizing this service and if they are satisfied with the service and how that's going? And the other thing, I wanted to see if this was right. It also says there's no fiscal impact, which again, I'm really concerned when there's no fiscal impact, there's no information on what this would cost if we, I mean, I see that it's pursuant to a 5-year contract. Well, there must be some discussion or some idea that there would be a fiscal impact. Is that, so I'd like to find out more about that.
Thank you, Trustee Hall. We do have Dr. Moore who worked and negotiated this contract, and we have considered those questions, and I'm sure he can provide further clarification. So to that end, Dr. Moore.
Thank you, Dr. Aguirre, and good evening, board. Thank you for asking the question, Trustee Hall. In terms of who controls the cameras, so these Pixelot cameras from an NFHS network broadcast system are automated cameras. They're fixed cameras and automated. There's a schedule that's input by the site through a web interface. And once that schedule is input, the cameras turn on and off, and there's algorithmically programmed to follow specific action. When you input the schedule, you describe which type of event it's recording, if you will. And so there is no one operating the cameras per se. That's the uniqueness of this this vendor agreement is they've got proprietary algorithm and system that is programmed to follow the action. In terms of other districts, we have checked in San Diego Unified, this camera system is installed in 16 of their comprehensive high schools in the stadium as well as the gymnasium. And all reports indicated it's a little tough this year to get a bearing on exactly how the camera systems are doing, since we haven't had many sporting events or events in our venues. But the camera systems were installed in a few schools in San Diego Unified a couple of years ago, and according to the personnel that I've spoken with, is a couple of things. One is the program actually works and follows the action of the sport, and it's a wide angle with sometimes the camera zooming in as it could be programmed to do so, but folks have been able to see the action of the sport, and I wasn't informed of any complaints. But I think what another piece that I heard from their director of athletics was from his office in one venue, he was able to check out the action of multiple venues that had the cameras installed. And so even though he maybe wouldn't be able to get to a venue in person, he was able to monitor the sports that were going on. So the information that we got from other districts has been a positive. In terms of the fiscal impact, there's a couple of things that I wanted to say about that. And one is that this system, and again, we reviewed the San Diego Unified contract as well. They paid for the camera system, and they had to do the 5-year revenue sharing agreement that is listed in the contract. And what the revenue is from subscriptions to view the action that's recorded and streamed from these cameras. Because it's been a slow year in terms of broadcasting sports, and certainly broadcasting sports in California, because there haven't been high school sports. The company NFHS is offering the cameras to schools and to our district in particular in this agreement for no upfront charge. Where they intend to recover their revenue is through the agreement for 5 years. Where that could have a potential fiscal impact is you could have families that, instead of coming to a venue to watch a sporting event, they just buy the subscription. As you know, with many of our sporting events, there is a gate charge or an entry fee, and that revenue is collected by the sites and the ASB to cover some of the expenses of hosting those events. However, in checking with the site administration, particularly the ASBs, they did not feel that they would lose, if we are able to get back to in-person sports, that they would lose a significant amount of revenue because of the camera systems.
So if people subscribe to this, are they paying it directly to NFHS, or are they paying the site and then the site has to split the revenue up and pay them for? You're going to collect the revenue from the site and then pay the contract? Is that how it's proposed to work? I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it would be paid to NFHS Network Broadcast. And then NHFS, pursuant to the agreement, would do the revenue sharing after in the out years. I think it's a 3-year where there is no revenue sharing, and then in years 4 and 5, they would begin the revenue sharing aspect and pay the school per the agreement of how many subscriptions.
So how much does it cost per year for the first 3 years? Do you know?
And yes,
okay.
I do. The cost per year is $10.95 per month and $69.95 per year.
Per camera or per site?
No, I'm sorry, per subscription. So if a family wanted to subscribe to view the streaming for the cameras, they would pay $10.95 per month or $69.95 per year.
So how much do we have to pay for the cameras to be on our campus? Because it sounds like there is a cost to the district for 3 years. Is that wrong? I mean, am I not clear on that?
So there is no upfront cost for installation and setting up the cameras on, and providing the cameras and setting up the cameras on our campus. Again, where NFHS intends to recover the cost of providing the cameras and installing them is via these subscriptions that we would advertise and offer to our families.
So for 5 years, all we have to do is allow them to come and set up their cameras, and there is no cost?
According to our contract and the negotiations that we've had, there is no cost for them to install the cameras and then begin providing the service. What the content, the video stream, if you will, is what's behind a paywall, and that paywall is the subscription that families would have.
And so it says that it's a exclusive video provider of athletic events. So how are they going to monitor that when there's other people that may have cameras at those events and they get out there and they try to sell DVDs to parents or whatever it is? I don't get it. Maybe not seeing it live, but I mean, anybody can go on Facebook, right, and do Facebook Live and shows.
Right.
So what is that going to, how will that impact it?
Of course, and as we, you know, if we approve this agreement and we begin to install these cameras and move forward with this service, what we would be doing is essentially training our staff and our coaches that you know, certainly having somebody record something for their own personal, you know, watching their son or daughter play in a sport, that would be permissible, even under this contract. What's not permissible is obviously streaming that, because this is what the service would be providing. So we would be consulting with our families and making it very clear that, you know, that recording and streaming of the events should not be occurring, you know, and because that's what this contract is for.
Okay. So is there any liability on our part if we find out some people are doing the opposite of what you just said? I mean, they're not preventing themselves from streaming or whatever.
Are you saying can NFHS hold us liable for other folks? Well, I'm not the attorney, so I don't want to jump into, but according to the contract that we've reviewed, is they understand individuals and people taking pictures of their kids and stuff is one thing, but obviously streaming events, and through CIF, NFHS also does have an exclusive right to the contract through NFHS too. So, yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to patrol and look for this as best as possible. And if there are folks who we know are streaming, then we'll address that.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of H2. I will make that motion for approval.
I'll second. Solis?
Moved and seconded. Vote, please.
Adamo?
Yes.
Arancibia? Dr. Arancibia?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we can move to K1, which is consultant agreements over 5K, pulled by Trustee Hall. K1.
Yes, thank you. I would like, because I noticed this got, basically these are equitable services for private nonprofit schools that have children that are eligible to receive these services. But I would like to ask that we get a memo, Friday memo would be fine, but I would like to see the total list of schools that are receiving private schools, the private nonprofit schools that are receiving services, and the calculation for those equitable services for each of the entitlements under the Elementary and Secondary Education Act. So thank you. That's my request. I'll make a motion to approve the item.
I will second it.
Oh, go ahead.
Moved and seconded. Vote, please.
Adamo?
Yes.
Arancibia?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we'll go to K6, which is the annual debt transparency report for the fiscal year, pulled by Trustee Hall.
Yes, thank you. Dr. Aguirre, Mr. President, through you to Dr. Aguirre, I would request that we be walked through this report so we have a full understanding of what it means and what it represents. Thank you.
Could you repeat that? I didn't quite make out the first part of the
I'd like
request.
to ask you to walk us through this report so we understand what it means and what it represents.
Got it. Thank you. So I can present the broad strokes introduction, and then I'll ask Dr. Salkeld to provide additional comment. As the analysis indicates, with the adoption of Senate Bill 1029, public agencies required to report our outstanding debt. So in essence, that includes any bond debt that's outstanding, any other type of public financing, and then it is managed through the California Debt and Investment Advisory Commission, the CDIAC. That is the reason for this report and why it's come forward. As you can see, there's two attachments to this item. One is the certificates of participation from 2017. The other's from general obligation bonds of 2018. So that is a general broad strokes why it's coming before you. With the advent of that particular legislation is now a requirement of public agencies to review and adopt on an annual basis. So it's only been in the last 2 or 3 years since 2018 that we have been required to submit this. So that is the reason why it's before us. And I'll ask Dr. Salkeld to provide more detailed information, if you will. Dr. Salkeld.
Thank you, Dr. Geary. And good evening, Board President and Board Trustees, and Trustee Hall for your specific inquiry on this item. So yes, for the district, this pertains to the most recent bond obligations, but CDIAC is the agency at the state level that executes Senate Bill 1029 that went into effect in 2015-16. And so the reports that are attached to this agenda item, that is a template provided by CDIAC, the California Debt and Investment Advisory Committee, or Commission, sorry. So all of those components, it notes, I don't know if Deanne, you could probably pull up one of them as an example, what the issuance amount was for that year, what is the overall authorization under like Proposition O, and what has been spent to date. So this is a compliance report that is brought forth annually, and it needs to be submitted by January 31st. We work with the special district, our consultant at our special district financing and administration, along with our municipal financial advisor, Canon Public Finance, to review and prepare this report. So you can see even on the header what date it was submitted. I think it was January 14th, that we work with those agencies to submit it directly to the state, to this CDIAC agency. So again, these are very specific fields we need to populate with the district's information.
So it's already been submitted?
Correct.
We're just rubber stamping it then?
It's bringing
You
it.
don't need the board approval before you submit this to the state? They don't check on board approval?
We bring it forward as in terms of disclosures, bringing it forward here to the board. That way we've got the board's visibility on this, but we do submit it in compliance with what the state is asking for the deadline.
January 31st?
Correct.
Activity for 1 year and bringing the balances forward from the prior year's report. Is that correct?
Correct.
Does it fill that in from the prior year report that was submitted automatically, and then you just put in the information for the current year?
Correct. It's at that full year activity.
All right.
Outstanding obligations, we will continue to report this in accordance to that Senate bill.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Hall. Are there any questions from the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion for K6, correct?
Move to accept.
Motion to accept. I will second it.
Second.
Vote, please.
Adamo?
Yes.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Tarantino? I believe that was a yes. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to L3, which is a job description item pulled by the public, Ms. Hall and Mr. Tarantino. Go with the public.
Two speakers. The first speaker is Kathleen Cheers.
Yeah, this agenda item concerns me. It was my understanding Sweetwater was committed to downsizing district management staff. However, it now appears Sweetwater's intent was to move out persons who were not favored. I recall meeting after meeting, speakers, including teachers union leadership, stepping to the podium railing, demanding a downsizing of district management positions in their departments. In particular, Assistant Superintendent Dr. Fulcher. Ms. Hall, you and Trustee Segura stood firm in aligning alongside the teachers union leadership demands. Tonight, all district and community eyes are expecting a no vote on this item. And what of the teachers union leadership? Hopefully tonight they will continue to call for fiscal responsibility and speak against not one but both of the proposed positions. Failure to do so will put the integrity of both entities into question and shine a light on all parties' true intent. Back then, it is important to make note of the salary ranges attached to these new positions. While they may not have the assistant superintendent title, their duties are clear. This issue appears to indicate our interim's lack of teaching or admin credentialing is what is driving these new chief positions. As I recall, our previous superintendent took on the duties of assistant superintendent Carberry versus filling the position. Janny's credentials allowing her to incorporate those position responsibilities. With the superintendent search soon to begin, why are these two positions being considered now? Why wouldn't it be more prudent and fiscally responsible for our new superintendent to be given the opportunity to draft his or her own team? Thank you.
The next comments are from Nick Marinovich.
Good evening again. Item L3 is a real curious item, especially given the supposed dire fiscal condition of the district. I looked at the agenda item, which was like a lot of them, which are not, was well written and pretty clear what these positions would be doing. But I have to ask the question, one, why at this time, if in fact the district is still trying to have some fiscal restraint, and two, why hire the people now when you're in the process of searching for a new superintendent? Because it appears that these two positions are going to be some key critical advisors to any superintendent, whoever he or she may be. The optics are just not great, especially when you consider, salaries and benefits are $200,000 per position. In closing, I'd like to welcome Trustee Arancibia. And he doesn't know who I am probably, but I've been around a long time in this district. I've seen a lot of good and bad things. And one of the things I've learned the last year and a half, Trustee, pay attention to salary, the number of people in this district is funding. Because when virtually 90% of this district's general fund is committed to salaries and benefits, you better expect some accountability on where you're going to fund people and how much you're going to pay them and how many are going to be and where they're going to be. And this is just, item is a microcosm of how the district has gotten into trouble of funding these huge positions in the area of fiscal constraint. Thank you for consideration of my comments.
Thank you. There are no further comments.
Thank you. Trustee Hall, you had pulled this.
Yes, thank you, President Segura. I just want to say I have confidence in our superintendent that he would not bring forward positions to add management in this time, to actually increase positions like that. This is job descriptions that we're adding into our pool of job descriptions But I will ask this, can you clarify, I would like to see the organization charts for our district. I know that you've been working on those. They haven't been clear for quite a while, so I know I would like to see that. And I would like you to kind of give us some idea of to confirm the fact that you are not adding positions to add more people to our administrative staff. Dr. Gary.
Thank you, Trustee Hall. Should I answer that question or wait for the remainder of the questions?
Let Tarantino speak, and then maybe you could answer all those questions. Thank you, Trustee Tarantino.
Thank you, President Segura. First of all, I'd like to ask, as a point of personal privilege, that we bifurcate the vote and vote on each position separately, as opposed to together, as is presented in the analysis. Let me begin by saying, quite honestly, I was surprised to see the Chief of System Improvement and Innovation on the agenda. This is the resurrection of Dr. Carberry's old position. And I'll defer to Mrs. Cheers. Yes, when that position was eliminated, Jani took over lion's share of the responsibility. My question is, if this is needed, who is doing this work now? First question. Second question is the fact that, during the budget process, not from the dais, but also from members of the public, leadership of SEA, cuts from the top, cuts from the top, cuts from the top. And this is bringing back a position that was eliminated through retirement. And even though on the top of the second page, it says, in addition, the Assistant Superintendent of Equity, Culture, and Sports Services will not be filled, we are substituting it with the Chief Education and Support Services job. And it's no consolation or comfort to me to say both positions will be filled internally, and the fiscal impact will depend on who gets the positions, as it might result in positions not being filled. Again, point in case, or case in point. I eliminate the position, but the responsibilities still exist. And who's going to assume the responsibilities? And if we're saying that the responsibilities of the old Carberry position could not be assumed, then what makes us think that eliminating another position with responsibilities, those responsibilities are not going to go away? I cannot support this. I'm sorry, I just cannot support it. And that's why I am asking that we bifurcate the vote. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Getty.
Thank you, President Segura. So there were a number of questions there. I'll try to take them as I wrote them down and noted them. So this item is for the job description. So in and of itself, it does not have a cost per se. I just want to make sure I clarified that. Because the ultimate cost is dependent upon the personnel who is selected. This will be an internal recruitment. We don't intend on bringing people in from outside the district. And in terms of the organization chart, that is in essence where we are headed in that direction in terms of ensuring that it comes back at a future board meeting when the personnel recommendations are brought forward for board consideration. That is definitely what we want to bring forward. The Chief of Educational Equity and Support Services represents much as what happened with human resources. It was a downgrading of an assistant superintendent position from assistant superintendent to a chief position, thereby bringing savings to the district so that that maintains an alignment with that particular action when there was a separation. Secondly, in terms of the chief of improvement and innovation, again, that is dependent on the ultimate person who is selected. My goal and my intent has been that we are not adding to the management ranks. Rather, if there's an opportunity to consolidate, and in this instance, it would be through the Department of Research and Evaluation, if that would be appropriate. That would be where we would be looking to consolidate rather than expand. So that is kind of, I think it gets to most of the questions. In terms of the question about procedure, in terms of bifurcation, I believe that is a board prerogative.
Thank you. I'll speak to it. So I fully support this. I don't support bifurcating this vote either. It's all or nothing. And I understand, right? There will not be any additional cost. I support that. And I supported from the dais many times over and over saying that I felt that, you know, the staff, the district administration, the assistant soups position should change and come down to chiefs. I'm fine with that. That's something I've always supported, and I say that again here. And with that, I will go to Trustee Hall.
I'm muted, sorry. Thank you. I wanted to say that it might have been less confusing if there were eliminations, if it was all brought together, but that isn't the case. And I can remember the same thing happening in prior years since we've been on the board, where changes have been brought without eliminating another position first, and later on positions were brought to change. I would like to see that there is probably I would like to see in the future planned board meeting where you would bring the org chart and you explain what positions would be taken away and perhaps eliminated from our budget in making this go through. I support it as well. I think this is a point of trust that none of us on this board want to increase management positions at this point. It would just create more havoc for our district, even though our staff and our administration is working 24/7 at times to keep this district under, you know, moving forward and dealing with a lot of the disarray and really challenges that they've faced across the last few months. So I just wanted to know that I do support it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Hall. Back to Mr. Tarantino.
Can someone say who is assuming the responsibilities under the Chief of System and Improvement Innovation position now? Or is it kind of forgotten?
Dr. Righetti, you're muted.
Thank you for that. So right now, some of those responsibilities are currently assumed by research and evaluation. This would reflect a consolidation to further align the work that's happening in that department. Some of those responsibilities are currently with research and evaluation, but not all.
Any other comments on the board?
Yeah, I'd like to say something.
Dr. Ancibia, go ahead.
You know, what we've been discussing in long term is like the issue of, you know, long term, we're going to have to pare down just because of declining enrollment. And one of the things that concerns me the most with regards to this is we don't want to be at that end point trying to cut back radically in the last 4 months. We need to figure out how to be able to pare and double up people's salaries. And I hate to sound this way, but, you know, there are folks that are getting paid, you know, a good salary, and they're going to have to shoulder the burden right now and perhaps take on more than one responsibility in order for us to get to the paring back of the budgets that we're forecasting in the future. And I want us to work collaboratively. We may disagree, agree to disagree, but I want us to work collaboratively to see how we can structure these types of positions so they can complete more than one role, because in order to save us money in the future. And I think this is one way that we can do this. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Dr. Arancibia. I just want to say one last thing, is that in regards to the public's comments about why would we do this now, I am a firm believer, and I totally believe in the work that Dr. Aguirre is doing right now and the team, and there's no reason to hesitate to wait on things. I know people would like things get delayed, but that's not where I'm at. We have a lot of work to do, and we need to keep moving this district forward, and I appreciate the effort that was put into that. So if there's no other first comment, I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Vote, please.
Adamas?
Yes.
Arancibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
No.
Motion passes 4 yes, 1 no.
Okay, with that, let's take a break. It's almost going to be 8 o'clock. So let's take a break till 8:10. We'll take a 15-minute break, 8:10. Thank you. Thank you. So welcome everybody back. Dr. Getty has logged off for this part for L5 because this is the proposal from the San Diego County Office of Ed to assist in the superintendent search process and development of our district. And with that, we'll move to L5. We have public comment, and this is pulled by Ms. Trustee Tarantino.
Yes, I have 5 speakers to this item.
Thank you.
The first comments are from Kathleen Cheers.
I would like to publicly thank the County Board of Ed and all those inter-district and outside entities who have continued to push for a superintendent search. The need for a competitive field of qualified applicants able to potentially serve in the position of superintendent is appropriate. We are one of the largest school districts in the nation. It is imperative Sweetwater begin a new chapter under a superintendent with qualifying credentials, strong expertise, leadership, proven verifiable success, and no allegiance to any organization or special interest group or groups. In reviewing the attachment, it indicates community stakeholders will be included in the process. While not clearly specified, the community would hopefully expect the board incorporates any and requests of the county stakeholder representation as part of the interview process. Undoubtedly, this would send a clear message on inclusion, trust, and respect. I respectfully volunteer as one of the participants, as I have continuously chosen to serve my area schools in this district for the past 43 years in several capacities. As a current example, serving my 2nd year as Montgomery High School school site council member. Your appreciation of my participation in board meetings and VOC meetings should not be viewed as my only involvement. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next comments are from Elaine Elefante-Liano.
Good evening, President Segura, members of the board. My name is Elaine Elefante-Liano, and I am really pleased that the district is moving forward in conducting the superintendent search. It is incumbent for the board to ensure that there is transparency, the process engages participation from all stakeholders, and lastly, demonstrates alignment with the community and the school board. In the last search for the superintendent, the district hired a firm as opposed to the process being proposed now. Did the board consider that as an option? My concern with the county is, will the county have the time and effort needed to invest in the selection process? I hope the board has looked into the pros and cons of both processes. If the board moves forward with the county, the service agreement is written very generically, and I have a few comments about the phases. The engagement phase, when scheduling meetings with the community, I hope that the participants will be representative of the Sweetwater community. I would like to suggest that the Filipino Advisory Committee be included and work with the community to select who will participate. Please consider an ad hoc committee be formed and charged with developing suggestions for qualities, qualifications, and challenges pertinent to the superintendent position. These efforts will ensure that there is authenticity in gaining input from all stakeholders. This phase places the importance of gathering input in the decision-making and will pave the way for a positive atmosphere that will surround the final decision. In both the recruitment and selection phase, please consider continuing to use the ad hoc committee in reviewing the candidates and utilize the committee in interviewing in each round of narrowing the pool of candidates. These are extremely challenging times for students, parents, and staff, and you're all truly taking a toll on all district stakeholders in all roles. This is one of the most important roles that the Board of Trustees has to do, hire the superintendent. I hope that the process will ensure transparency, allows for community participation and input, and lastly, demonstrate an alignment between the board and the school community. And finally, I just wanted to share with you that a member of the Filipino American Advisory Committee passed away last Friday from COVID, Dr. Ray Monzon. Hopefully many of you will remember him. He was a graduate of Montgomery High. He had 2 kids who graduated from Otay Ranch, and he truly was a leader in the Filipino community. He worked for San Diego State as Director of Student Affairs Research and Assessment, and he gave many presentations to the district on our student performance and was a great partner with the district in providing data. He was an original member of the Filipino Advisory Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. The next comments are from Joe Palmore.
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Interim Superintendent Aguirre. On December 10th, 2020, Don Alto hosted a meeting with our Black Minds Matter Advisory Group in San Diego. The one word I remind him and that I remind you of tonight is accountability. At that meeting, we expressed to Dr. Godfrey that Sweetwater Union High School District needed assistance with the superintendent search due to the deficit budget. The district could not afford the IFP for the superintendent search. Yet here we are today for a proposal to hire 2 management positions that, for all intent purposes, are assistant superintendent positions is presented before you. Each position salary and benefit is over $196,000 to up to $217,000. Yet still we have teachers who are furloughed and permanent counselors with temporary positions. Please help me understand how the board is willing to cut corners in selecting the best qualified person for the most important position in this district to save costs, yet are also willing to spend yearly almost $500,000 on 2 positions. This doesn't even factor in Dr. Fulcher's salary during his administrative leave. What happened to the year-long chat of cut from the top that Ms. Hall, Ms. Segura, union leaders, and certain community members propagated? If true transparency, neutrality, and most importantly, accountability is not enough for our Board of Trustees to invest in an independent firm to conduct the search for the superintendent position, then I guess we will have to settle for the alternative process proposed by the San Diego County of Education. I read the service agreement document, and frankly, the word does not fully match what was discussed on the 10th. As an example, Dr. Gotho assured us that San Diego County Office of Education will pay for all costs for the superintendent search process. This document, though, states that the district will pay for the advertisement, for the search, and the background check of the candidate. With that said, this is better than not having a search process at all. Than simply appointing behind closed doors. As a parent of a student attending one of the schools in the district and a member of the Black Minds Matter advocacy group of San Diego, I believe the districts in San Diego County of Education have responsibility to make sure that a diverse representation of parents and community voices are included in the engagement and the selection process phases of superintendent search process as indicated in L5. I'm trusting in both the board and the San Diego County Education that you will act in an ethical and equitable manner. In spite of my doubts and past experiences, if the district will accept this offer rather than doing the right thing, which is hiring an independent firm, we as parents and community members are requesting for accountability and as a sign of good faith that Black Lives Matter, Black Lives really matter in Sweetwater. We are respectfully demanding that at least one parent and or a community member of the Black Lives Matter San Diego be included in this process. In addition, this representative should be determined by the Black Lives Matter San Diego through communication with its co-chairs. Yes, you can say the district parent groups exist that can represent. My response is, of course, they do, and we look forward to working alongside them to have a voice and say in who will be our next superintendent. A superintendent to represent all students, all parents, all teachers, and all administrators, and all staff in the district, regardless of culture, socioeconomic background, religion, or in our case, race. Thank you. Joe Palmer, United States Marine Corps, retired.
Thank you, sir. Next comments are from Nancy Nieto.
Yes, hi. Dear Sweetwater Union High School District Board members and Interim Superintendent Aguirre, it is important that all stakeholders in the Sweetwater Union High School District be included in choosing the next superintendent of the district. The children, families, and staff of the Sweetwater District need a superintendent who has experience in dealing with all aspects of education, from social emotional support to curriculum development, from finances to athletics. The students and parents need someone who has vision for the district and is a good communicator to all its stakeholders and community members. This person needs to be a problem solver who has good relations with people from other districts, the community, the County Board of Education, and the state. This person should also be able to bring people together to problem solve and not alienate one group from another. I understand the district will be working with the County of Ed to conduct a superintendent search. Taking advantage of this offer would ensure the due diligence of selecting the most qualified person for the job. But after reading the service agreement, I noted that the community is not involved in the selection process, but only in the engagement portion. In such an important decision like this, shouldn't input be solicited from all groups? The community is asking for the district to be transparent, yet the action of not including community input reeks of political bias. Let's not go back to the practices of making behind-the-scenes deals. Choosing the new superintendent should be a community decision. Let all the stakeholders help in every phase of the process in choosing the next superintendent for the Sweetwater Union High School District. Thank you.
Thank you. The next comments are from Katrina Hamilton.
Thank you, Deanne. Dear Board of Trustees, greetings and Happy New Year. A lot has happened since last December. We have a new president of the White House and are hoping that everyone had a restful and safe break. And following up with Sweetwater Union High School District's replacement with Dr. Karen Janney, we are wanting to make sure the superintendent search process remains open at the request of several community stakeholders, including the Black Minds Matter Advocacy Group of San Diego, who met with Dr. Paul Gatto on December 10, 2020. As the NAACP San Diego Branch Educational Chair, I am encouraging and urging Sweetwater's Board of Trustees to include the voices of its community members from both the Black Minds Matter Advocacy Group of San Diego and the Filipino Advisory Committee for the initial engagement process as outlined by Dr. Gatto and his team. It's imperative that at least 2 representatives from each advocacy group are added on for an inclusive process that will meet the needs of all children, including our biracial students in the district. We will, as always, closely monitor Sweetwater like we do all other districts throughout the county, and we thank you for taking critical steps towards looking out for our children. Sincerely, Katrina Hassan Hamilton. Thank you so much for listening, and I do want to offer our condolences to the Filipino community as well. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further comments at this time.
Thank you. How about we go to Mr. Tarantino, Trustee Tarantino? He had pulled this.
Thank you, President Segura. Let me begin by saying I appreciate the work that was done in reaching out to the San Diego County Office of Education to assist in this process. But I had wished and hoped perhaps we would send out an RFP to get an idea of what other firms are doing in terms of presenting information to the board and community members in terms of the search process. So I'm disappointed that we're not going with the RFP. And because of that, I cannot support this action. I just wanted to go on record saying that. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your honesty. I did the legwork, and the only thing I wish I would have done better was I would have had Vice President Solis involved in it. That slipped my mind, and because I remember back when Trustee Tarantino was the president and I was a vice president, I was involved in that. So I called him over the weekend to apologize for that. That was a little bit of oversight on my behalf. But as we've heard over the last few months, we've had from public comment, non-agenda comment about doing a superintendent search, and I firmly believe in that. I think that's important to get all our stakeholders' input, and that's why I work on this over the last month or so with our general counsel, Carbuccia. We have on the call Dr. Yolanda Rogers. If she could walk us through what the San Diego County Office of Ed is proposing to do for recruitment, in the transfer and the process, I would appreciate that. Dr. Rogers, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone. I would like to just point out a couple of things here that we're offering a no service to the district for this search process. The only fees that would be included if the board chose to reimburse applicants as identified further down the contract under item number 5. But to just begin to let you all know that we will engage stakeholders that are identified by the board in the selection in terms of the engagement phase, getting all input and ensuring that that input is used to inform all phases of the process. In addition, surveying community members, holding focus groups to get that input, and ensuring that we do present to the board at a public meeting as identified in the agreement, all the feedback received from community members, community stakeholders. And let's see, just scrolling on down, our plan is to include a nationwide search being able to span throughout California, but also beyond California to ensure that we are attracting the most highly qualified candidates for this position, as we too believe it is the most important decision that a school board can make. The phase of selection, once we've gathered all the input, that will inform our job posting, and also when we receive the applicants, we will scroll through and based on the criteria identified by the board with feedback and input from stakeholders, that process will then inform how we screen and select candidates for interview. And again, throughout the phase, throughout the portion of the process, will include the feedback that has been gathered from the beginning through surveys, community forums, and then of course the board makes the final decision and are the hiring people. The board is the one who hires a superintendent. So with feedback and input from the community. Are there any specific questions you'd like for me to address that's or further explain that's outlined in the contract here with the agreement?
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. Do we have any more questions from the board? Trustee Tarantino.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers and President Guda. In our last search, the board was able to select 2 people, I believe, from each trustee area to serve as a community advisory committee, and they had access to the candidates who were selected to be brought forward. There were 6 of them, according to the information that I dug up from my archives. And I was wondering if, I know that there's statements in the terms of agreement that the board can make recommendations. And I don't expect you to answer this now because I'm kind of catching you off guard, but I would like to see a reinstatement of such a committee. I think that would go a long way, as members of the community have expressed, to engage different stakeholders from most areas. So that's.
Can you clarify? You mentioned 2 from each area, and what was their role again?
Their role was a community advisory committee.
Okay.
And what they did was they in addition to what you're recommending in terms of getting input from members of the community and staff and parents and students and even elected officials, they had access to be able to ask the candidates who were coming forward, and there were 6 at the time, and we narrowed it down to 2. But they had an opportunity with consultants to ask questions, which were formulated in with the consultants, and have a discussion with all of the candidates who brought forward. So that's, and I know that could be covered under the general statements that are in there, that, you know, the board will have an opportunity to work with you to discuss what kind of components will be within the search.
Absolutely.
So that's what I just wanted to say.
Absolutely. And then just to also share, I've heard throughout the comments that the importance of having process, transparency, and engagement, and confidential is also one that we really will hold to: process, transparency, and engagement. So those are the really key components that we believe are important for this search.
Good.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. So I do remember that happening last time. I'm not saying I'm for that. I think that we already have an engagement process written into here, and we could choose a number of organizations or committees that already exist within our district to participate in this, in our search, in the process. And I know, and that's where I'm at with that right now. You know, that, and we might have did that last time, but to me, it doesn't seem like we have to do it this time. I think just in terms of us, if we tell, I would guess, you can correct me on this, Jennifer, council, we have to list the organizations that we would want to participate tonight and get that in writing, or is that correct?
No, I think people, each of you as board members, have the ability to provide feedback to Dr. Rogers around what groups or individuals that you would like to ensure are surveyed and participate in the engagement process. I think you have the ability as the board to provide feedback to Dr. Rogers on questions that are important, as a number of your public speakers talked about, what qualifications you think are important in being a superintendent. And it is in that engagement phrase that lens is built. And in looking at a number of other entities that do these services, that really is the major piece of the engagement phase, so that the lens of the community is what drafts and guides the job description, and what guides the posting, and what guides the questions that are being developed, that feedback that comes in, but that you as the board are the ultimate hirers of that process. Okay.
Because I had a couple, you know, I agree with what the, you know, the community that even before they called in and recommended, you know, that their groups be included. That'd be our Filipino and our Black Lives groups. I would expect them. I want them to participate in this process. You know, that's where we're going with this tonight, right? And then are we all limited on who we can?
No, I mean, Dr. Rogers, could you kind of speak a little bit to your process from the notion of community engagement, as opposed to calling one big group, how you talk about the individual safety of freedom of those speeches?
Yes, I think it's important, whichever groups the board identifies that we meet with, we will meet with each group independently of each other, so that we can truly create that safe space to allow each community group, stakeholder group, to speak freely and share what's really important to them. Combining all together does not make necessarily for a process that's going to feel safe and allow people to speak freely. So each group, however many that are identified by the board, we will meet with individually as the groups, and so that they can feel as though they are able to speak freely, as I just mentioned a moment ago, and really express the needs that they have in this process.
Thank you.
I think Trustee Hall wants to speak.
Thank you, Hall.
Yeah,
thank you. Go ahead, Trustee. Sorry, I was struggling.
I didn't realize that there was a big push to name certain groups tonight to be the, who is engaged, because I want to make sure that we don't narrow that focus too much. I am totally supportive of having Black Lives Matter and having Filipino advocates. And there's many other advocates in our community that we want to listen to as well. And I don't want to shut that down to some narrow group of people. So I do support having their voices. I know that from what I understand, you will be conducting those meetings and really listening and gathering that information. And I think that's the opportunity for people to influence what the outcome is of this. But I think it is truly the board's responsibility. And I want to make that clear. It is the board's responsibility to make this selection and ultimately to do the interviews of the candidates, to really listen and to be thoughtful. And that's what our responsibility is as elected officials. That's what we were elected to do, right? So I don't want to shirk that responsibility or make it too wide so where it becomes meaningless and we're just not really hearing the voices that we need to hear. So yes. So how many meetings are you talking about? How many people what is the time frame? I mean, have you already determined how many meetings you would conduct? And
can I say something?
Yeah.
I think we're getting way. I mean, from what I'm hearing here, you're getting so far ahead of the horse, or we're all getting so far ahead of the horse.
Yeah.
Where we're approving right now is, are we okay with this plan as it stands? We can make any adjustments to it as we want. Are we okay with the plan as we're going right now? And I think that we need to reel back and just kind of say, if we're okay, then we can start exploring. I think that's what you mean, right, Dr. Rogers? We can start exploring how to be able to move forward, what focus groups you want to work with and such, right?
Correct. We don't have to determine all search groups tonight. Yeah. Just clarifying any parts of the agreement that we've put forward, and all the details can be, in terms of that connected to the agreement, can be discussed later on, as Jennifer mentioned, that we will gather input from each of the board members and then of course stakeholders. So yeah, we don't need to go to that depth tonight in terms of which groups, but rather respond to the services.
In principle, I would say in principle, I say yes to this proposal, right? I move to approve the proposal.
I'll second that.
Just moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Okay, let's get to the vote.
Arancibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino? I'm sorry, I didn't catch your vote, Mr. Tarantino.
Sorry.
No? Okay, motion passes 4 yes, 1 no.
Okay, thank you, board members. With that, we'll move to N1.
Let me get Dr. Aguirre back on the meeting.
Oh, yep, we got to get him on the meeting.
Cut him report.
Okay, he's back on. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Deanne.
Okay, let's move to our last one. Sorry, I got to regroup here. N1, which were purchase orders, and that's pulled by Trustee Hall.
Thank you, President Segura. I was pulling this item because I noticed there's a lot of items related to fire hazard, fire safety, extinguishers and the systems and all that. So could we have a Friday update or a presentation at a future board meeting related to our schools and how those inspections are going and what the schedule is related to those inspections and what is being found as far as what needs to be addressed with upgrading our systems if that is the needed step, or replacements of the equipment. Thank you.
Hi, Trustee Hall. Yes, there's some requirements in terms of how often that equipment must be refilled and or exchanged. So I'll work with our maintenance team to put together a report for the Board of Trustees.
Thank you.
Trustee Dr. Arencibia, did you have a question? I see your hands up, sir. Nope. You're muted. Okay.
That was from the last topic. I apologize. The last agenda item. My apologies.
I think I might institute a little dollar jar. So every time you have one, that you're not supposed to, you have to put $1. Just kidding.
We should probably try doing that, or start speaking in mute, and we'll all be reactivated in the year.
Okay. Anyways, if there's no other further questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve N1.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. And we'll vote.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, let's move to N2, pulled by Trustee Hall. It just says
Yes.
confirmation.
Yes, if you notice, some of these go back to 2017-18. So my concern is about what process we have in place to ensure that purchase orders are, first of all, followed up on to make sure that they're received within the time that they're written for. Usually there's a time frame that product or service is expected to be completed or received. So how do we do that? How are they tracking that? And how are they following up to make sure they're invoiced in a timely manner? And that when their credits come through, that they get processed to the accounting department in a timely manner. So I appreciate future report on that.
Thank you, Trustee Hall. We can definitely work with Dr. Sockel to put together information outlining our processes from the accounting perspective.
Thank you. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the item.
Do we have a second?
I'll second. Solis.
All right. Vice President Solis, let's vote.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, and our last item is N3.
That one I pulled by mistake, so I don't need to ask that question. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve N3.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Vote, please.
Arencibia?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Segura?
Yes.
Solis?
Yes.
Tarantino?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0. We actually have R1.
R1?
R1, pulled by
Okay.
Mr. Tarantino.
Yes.
I just had a request, really two requests, that anytime something with Belarus comes forward, that include the chart with the names of the CFDs, because it's kind of hard to remember what CFD 1 is, 2, and all that. So if that could be included. And then if we can have an accounting of how many years are left in each CFD, because I know that some of them are coming to a close, and it might be a good idea for us to have a handle on, when they end, when certain CFDs end, so that, we don't perpetually count on the money coming in, because there are various times in which they are due to cease. And I know that we put to bed one CFD, I believe it's CFD 2, if I'm not mistaken. And then there's others that are various times, like 7 years, 6 years. The ones that we most recently created, I think 30 or 35, you still have to worry about those. But I think there are some that are coming due. It'd be nice to know which those are, so like that we can plan accordingly as we move forward. And that's all I had, and I will move approval of R1.
I will second R1. Let's vote, please.
Arencibia,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Segura,
Yes.
Solis,
Yes.
Tarantino.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, that's the last one. And with that, we are adjourned. Good night, everybody. Thank you.